Have you ever trusted someone so completely, only to have them shatter that trust into a million pieces? I'm talking about that gut-wrenching feeling when you realize the person you love isn't who you thought they were. This is Kevin's story, a tale of love, betrayal, and a revenge so perfectly executed, it's almost poetic. Kevin and Hailey were the couple everyone envied. They met in college, shared a passion for hiking, and seemed to finish each other's sentences. For 5 years, their life was a picture-perfect romance. Kevin was a software engineer, a meticulous planner, not just in his code, but in life. He'd been saving diligently for a house, a future he envisioned with Hailey by his side. Hailey was a freelance graphic designer, creative, free-spirited, and the vibrant color to his black and white logic. They seemed to balance each other perfectly. Kevin had an old-school romantic heart. He believed in grand gestures. For their 5th anniversary, he planned the ultimate surprise, a 2-week trip to Japan during cherry blossom season, culminating in a proposal under the sakura trees. He'd spent months planning every detail, from the flights to the traditional ryokan stays. He had even secretly taken Japanese lessons. He'd also bought a beautiful custom-designed ring, a delicate band with a small, elegant diamond that Hailey had once pointed out in a magazine. A week before their anniversary, Kevin was working late on a major project. He came home exhausted around midnight, expecting to find Hailey asleep. Instead, he found her wide awake, pacing in the living room, her phone clutched in her hand. The air was thick with a tension he couldn't quite place. He asked if everything was okay. Hailey just nodded a little too quickly and said she was just stressed about a design deadline. Kevin, tired and trusting, accepted her explanation and went to bed. But a seed of doubt had been planted. Over the next few days, Hailey was distant. She was glued to her phone, smiling at texts, but offering vague answers when he asked who she was talking to. She started working late at coffee shops, places she'd never frequented before. Kevin tried to brush it off as pre-anniversary jitters or work stress, but the feeling in his gut told him something was deeply wrong. The night before their anniversary, Kevin's project finally wrapped up. He decided to surprise Hailey by picking her up from the coffee shop she said she'd be at. He wanted to start their celebration early. He bought a bouquet of her favorite peonies and drove to the address she'd mentioned. But when he got there, the coffee shop was dark, closed for the night. Confusion turned to a cold dread. He called her phone. It went straight to voicemail. He drove around, his mind racing. Where could she be? Then he remembered her mentioning a new client, a guy named Mark, who owned an art gallery downtown. On a whim, a desperate, gut-wrenching whim, he drove towards the gallery district. And that's when he saw it. Hailey's car, parked outside a sleek, modern apartment building a few blocks from the gallery. Kevin's heart hammered against his ribs. He parked across the street, his hands shaking. He told himself there had to be a rational explanation. Maybe it was a client meeting. Maybe she was with a friend. But it was nearly 11 p.m. After what felt like an eternity, the front door of the building opened. And out walked Hailey, laughing, holding hands with a tall, handsome man. It was Mark. As Kevin watched, frozen in his car, Mark leaned in and kissed her. It wasn't a friendly peck on the cheek. It was a long, passionate kiss that made Kevin's world crumble.
Oh.
He didn't confront them. He just drove home in a daze, the peonies lying wilting on the passenger seat. The sight of their shared apartment, filled with pictures and memories, was suffocating. He saw the plane tickets to Japan on the counter, the ring box hidden in his sock drawer. All of it felt like a cruel joke. The meticulous planner in him, the romantic who had poured his heart into building a future, was replaced by a man hollowed out by betrayal. That night, Kevin didn't sleep. He sat on the couch, the scene replaying in his mind. The laughter, the hand-holding, the kiss. Anger, hot and blinding, started to replace the shock and grief. How could she do this? After 5 years. Right before their anniversary, right before he was about to propose. He looked at their joint savings account statement on the coffee table, the down payment for their house. A house he had contributed over 80% to because he had the higher, more stable income. Hailey's contributions were sporadic at best. An idea, cold and calculated, began to form in his mind. The next morning, their anniversary, Hailey walked in looking tired but trying to act cheerful. "Happy anniversary, babe," she chirped, holding up a small gift bag. Kevin looked at her, his face a mask of calm. "Happy anniversary," he replied, his voice flat. "How'd you let her give him the gift? A new watch?" He didn't open it. "I have a surprise for you too," he said, his voice eerily steady. He gestured for her to sit down. He slid a folder across the table. It wasn't plane tickets. It was a detailed printout of their joint savings account. He had highlighted every single one of his deposits and every single one of her withdrawals over the past year. He had also included screenshots of her social media, where she flaunted new designer bags, expensive spa days, and lavish brunch outings with her friends, all paid for from the account meant for their future home. Hailey's smile faltered. "Kevin, what is this?" "This," Kevin said, his voice dangerously quiet, "is a record of our shared future. It seems while I was saving for a house for us, you were funding a lifestyle for you, a very expensive one." He then placed a single, glossy photo on top of the bank statements. It was a crystal clear picture he had taken with his phone the night before, of her and Mark kissing. The color drained from Hailey's face. She stammered, trying to form an excuse, but the evidence was undeniable. The game was up. "So," Kevin continued, his voice like ice, "I've made some arrangements for our anniversary. First, I've transferred my 80% of the house fund into a new account, an account that's only in my name. The remaining balance, which generously covers your contributions, is all yours. Consider it a parting gift." He stood up and walked to the door, picking up a packed suitcase. "Second, our lease is up in 2 weeks. I've already informed the landlord I won't be renewing. You have 14 days to find a new place to live. Maybe Mark has a spare room in his fancy apartment." Hailey just sat there, stunned into silence, tears welling in her eyes. But Kevin felt nothing. No pity, no remorse. "Oh, and one more thing," he said, pausing at the door. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the small velvet ring box. He opened it, revealing the beautiful engagement ring. He looked at it, then looked at her. "I was going to give this to you in Japan." He then calmly walked over to the kitchen sink, turned on the garbage disposal, and dropped the ring in. The horrifying grinding sound filled the silent apartment. It was the sound of their 5-year relationship being irrevocably destroyed. Kevin walked out without a backward glance, leaving Hailey alone in the apartment with her lies, her tears, and the deafening silence of a future she had thrown away. He canceled the trip to Japan and instead booked a solo trip to Thailand. He spent 2 weeks on a beach, not mourning what he'd lost, but celebrating what he had regained, his self-respect, his future, and his freedom. Kevin's story is a stark reminder that trust is the foundation of any relationship. And when that foundation is broken, sometimes the only way to rebuild is to tear the whole thing down and start fresh. He didn't scream or shout. He used his intelligence and her own actions to deliver a final, devastating blow. He took back his power, his money, and his future, all in one calm, calculated move. It wasn't just revenge, it was justice. What do you think? Was Kevin's revenge justified, or did he go too far? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you have a story of your own, I'd love to hear it. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this one. See you next time.